Hola chicos, hola chicas. This is our next quick project, which is the A380 optimization. You saw yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, a video come out just on the A380 engine sounds redone. Um, Ideally, what I want to do with Enhania eventually is have the ability to make two different sounds in terms of one sound where you can hear which is a bit different from the outside sound, and then of course the external sound. Um, and I want to at least start that based on the A380, so that there's options for, you know, adding or not adding this later on in other versions. So I think the my main aim to eventually with the A380 is um, my main aim with the A380 is to eventually get to a stage where it's as I say, of course, ready and flying for you guys very easily. That will be done. I want to do that by this weekend for sure. But also, again, as I was talking about the Enhania, I want to make the system really modular so that any new plane, it's very easy for me to just do different sounds for that Enhania system that changes. Of course, if you're inside the plane, then you will hear like what you would hear real world if you're inside the plane, as to what sounds you would hear if you're outside of the plane. At the moment, we have it mono in the way that it's only it's only one specific sound set, but you can hear either if you're inside or outside. But what we try to do with Enhania is like if you're inside the plane, it will reduce the volume, maybe add a bit of muffle. But what I want to move into is to have separate sounds eventually, for the system, of course. So basically, if we get straight into what I'm trying to do today is really mainly I've just redone the suspension, because of the kit. I gotta make sure that the suspension is stable. Um, so all four engines are on now. What I just need to do last is to redo the thrust calculations, of course, because it's not the A350 anymore. And then of course put four forces now instead of the two. And because of the A380, to save me uploading like multiple sounds and stuff and risking, roadblocks with the dead moderation, ideally what I'm going to try and do is a new system, which to be honest is only going to really be on the A380 because it's the only four engine we plan to do. Is instead of having a separate sound for each engine, the aim is to have in the middle an attachment which will play one sound for this side, and then of course for the other side one in the middle that will play one sound for both engines. So it'll be one sound set for each engine, but when, say for example, engine 1 turns off, okay, that sound center will move to the engine that's still on, so to engine 2 for example. If engine 2 is off, that sound set will move to the engine that's on. So you won't really notice the difference at all, than if they both had, their own sounds. And it saves me a lot of time trying to mess with Rebel's moderation. Also keeps the scripts more optimized because there's less lines, so it just handles that. So that will be the aim for that. Right now, yeah, as I said, I was testing the suspension. It's now, I think it's definitely for this kit good. So there we go. As you can see, basically I just keep dropping it from a height and waiting until basically one of the gears collapse. So as you can see, this would probably be I say an FPM of maybe 2000 from here, just dropping like that. It's uncontrolled and it's coming down hard, okay, there's no lift there. So the moment one of the gears collapsed, and I think there is a gear collapse here, as you can see now, that's gear failure, it's dead on that side. Let's see, this side is held up. Yeah, so this side is completely gone. You can see that the right side is still alive. It's just the left side is completely gone. So as you can see, of course, there's gear failure. Not gear failure because of how Roblox actually does PGS, which is perfect. As I say, PGS is one of the most realistic things on Roblox because it does model physics correctly. So as you can see, there's a limit to the force you can have on the gears before it completely fails. The nose gear is very, very strong, but of course it should eventually have its limit. Ooh, that was hard. And yeah, the nose gear is gone. There we go, the nose gear is actually seriously gone. Now, of course, we don't have braking on Roblox, but you would have seen that the gears basically, especially the front gear, would have been gone by now. It's probably gonna. This is probably gonna fly away and not actually hit where I want it to. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, she's dead. Well, anyway, that's the. At least now we know that the gears can take enough force. So I think, from my estimate, that's around 3000 FPM before it snaps. Of course, I won't truly know until I dive the plane in flight under thrust power. So anyway, as I said, she will have the same things the A350 does in terms of systems. Of course, her performance will be completely different. Her maneuverability stuff, because it's of course an A380, will be different. I think probably the A380 will be a bit more easier, at least a lot easier in the air to fly, because it's a big plane. So bigger planes are generally just more stable than their smaller cousins. Because of ground effect, she should be a lot more easier to land. At least more stable to land. And yeah, so gonna get that done. When the A380 is out, my plan is to have an A380 landing competition like I did with the A350. We're gonna go on to Flightline again. The people that participate are gonna land 747s. We'll pick the competitors from there, and then we'll go straight into the A380 landing competition. After that, I think it's going to be before after that the A380 clients will have received their A380. And then finally, it's full steam ahead on our next plane, the A321. Now, because of course the kit is completely, this Airbus kit is, in my opinion, the final version. It will be. Anything else being added is like add-ons, we talked about previously. So yeah, A321 should be very quick. Depending on the speed I'm going at, if I find out that it's easier for me to do the if I find out it's easier for me to do the 777X before the A320, then I may just skip the A320 and then come back to it afterwards. But the A321 will definitely come out first. Then, depending on how fast we've done the A321, I could even just have out the A320 as well. Then move straight to the 777. And yeah, that's the 777 would just take maybe a small bit of time because it's a different system. Airbus systems, as I say, they use fly-by-wire. The 777 does use fly-by-wire, but its fly-by-wire works. For me, it kind of works stupidly, if I could say. It's a bit different. And what it does, instead of holding your flight path, as I've demoed in multiple videos now, it instead holds speed. So the last speed, I believe, if I will need to still, of course, do my study and research on it, or my homework on that. But what it does is it's a speed hold type of fly-by-wire. So the last speed, I believe, you were doing before, like, you moved the yoke, before you release the yoke. So say if you were flying, you were moving the yoke up and down, okay, and you release the yoke, and just before you release the yoke, whatever speed that is, if it's 250 knots, I believe the plane will hold that speed. So it will pitch the plane up automatically or pitch the plane down automatically just to maintain that speed, which means on the American plane, majority of the time, the only way to really gain altitude is to use the thrust levers. And I remember a lot, and also even their autopilot has a completely different input, which is called FLCH or something, flight level change hold, which basically, again, because because the flight is a speed hold fly by wire, it needs to both maintain the speed you set when climbing to another altitude, and also maintain that altitude at the same time. Usually you would maintain altitude with, you're pitching up and down, but because you're pitching up and down on a 777 and a 787 is actually controlled by the pitch itself, or the elevator itself, it has to basically use the auto throttle for that altitude thing, which is for me, it's just complex and stupid, but hey, it's a system that has to be done. So I will go there, probably kill myself in frustration of how annoying that system is, and really, especially since I've done the fly-by-wire system by Airbus, and I think it's just more straightforward and makes more sense. It's a completely opposite system basically to the Airbus system, but hey, it will be a fun system to do nonetheless. Get that done, and yeah, the plans after this, after the A220 is out completely, is Aeson won't shut down, but Aeson will temporarily leave like road planes development. I'll still, of course, like Aeson will still be there, so if you've still got issues, of course, and of course the plane's in warranty, but also even warranty with our planes, I mean the A350 is out of warranty now, but I still do updates because I still love flying my planes. So anyway, as I was saying, after the A220, the plan is to just move Aeson's development focus to road trains. Once I've done with road trains, maybe even randomly in between road trains, I'll probably make like a random plane here and there. But ideally, I guess after road trains, we'll see how it is. Most likely around road trains, Aeson will stop completely development, because I mean I don't expect to be on, as I say, on Roblox too long, especially when I get into game development, or if I go when I move, because I will be aiming to move to Germany by when I'm 25. So when I move to Germany, of course there's possible job opportunities in different technology firms, real world. So as well as, again, still, if I take up this Airbus opportunity, that will be less time, of course, anyway. So yeah, the future of Aeson is definitely bright, at least for aviation. We will definitely have a lot of great systems out by that time, so there's nothing to worry about. And then road trains, of course, for those train fans, there's a bright future there. By the time Aeson basically closes, we would have accomplished all we would have set out to do, and even more. And it would be a great chapter to basically say, yeah. Now, I don't believe the group will, when we do end development, the group won't be removed, the Discord probably won't be removed, so there'll possibly still be support and stuff, etc. But of course, as I say, when Aeson does come to its end, it will be development end in that type of thing. But as I say, that's not till, at least for now, from what I see, that's not till a pretty long foreseeable future. And yeah, we can't wait to get to the stages where Roblox brings out grids, so we can have 8-hour flights, joke, but also they bring out more physics improvements and not breaking things, and be better stuff again for the community. As I say to those in the community, if you have a dream or you have a focus on that. Don't worry about what's going on in the community. There is, in every community, as I say, there's toxicness or whatever, but if you're focused and you're aiming to do something, you don't ever see that, or at least you don't come across it commonly. Aeson has barely ever been in any toxic beef, at least any big beef anyway. I barely even know what goes on with the drama in aviation unless, eventually it does end up in the server if someone's talking about it, because I just don't bother. Um, I would say that our community is not completely as bad as some people may see it. If you've ever been in road cars or military, road military, or road nations, I think you would be completely shocked if you saw those. But yeah, as I say, there's no need for anyone to be, you know, um, focusing on the negative side of things. It's not worth your energy, and if you feel that that's what you're gonna spend most of your time on in the community, it probably is best to just take a break from it. Of course, I know there are people that do get this maybe just because of people being jealous of them, etc. My aim is just put your head down, ignore those people again. Try and make sure, of course, that if they're like exploiting your game or something, try and make sure that you don't have vulnerabilities in your game. Most people do have vulnerabilities in terms of, as I say, there was an exploit about with throwing things about. Make your stuff that aren't used unanchored or deleted. So cars, if they're not being used by someone that's inside of them that's frozen, delete that car. Um, Make sure all your cars or your planes or your systems, if there's no owner in it, then set the owner to the network owner to server. No one can exploit that thing once it's done like that. You know, if you have an Aeson jetway, use its function of freezing itself by making sure that if you start the game for the first time, make sure you just jump into the jetway to turn it on, and then jump out of the jetway if you're not using it, and it will freeze itself. No one can fling a jetway. I haven't seen the jetways being flung after people realize this. And again, whatever, just anything that's unanchored in your place is a risk of one of these exploiters just using their the network ownership radius exploit and just throwing things about. So try and avoid that. And yeah, the one thing I would ask the community is just not to be lazy too much. Try to value the developers in your community. Growth doesn't come necessarily from, as I say, being lazy or in valuing your developers in that sense. Working together is very important. As I say, it wasn't long ago until we started using mesh planes. And the community's been here maybe 9-10 years. I remember when I joined in 2013, we had row air and stuff, and that was when CM32 kit was just pretty new, and we've been using that ever since, even though there's been new technology until I guess of recent. And so now trying to bring in, as I say, my new kit. Of course, it's more of it's a challenge that will easily become mainstream by the time I say by next year. At the latest, there'll be more Aeson kit types in the community by even other people probably. Or if not, I mean, my Aeson kits should be around more pilots. The aim of anything, as I say, when I started Aeson, there wasn't really any mesh planes being flown by anyone. So it was a big gamble on how can I get this to be mainstream. And it was a bigger group at the time who were just looking to also bring mesh, and they've been there for quite a while. But they didn't do as much at the time. So I decided to start off with a plane that wasn't commonly used as well, because the A350 at the time wasn't a commonly used plane. In fact, I don't think I remember ever seeing an A350 on anyone's airline at that time. The first airline I flew with after I came back to aviation was Air Britain, but they were using mainly 767 and an A320, so didn't really see that there. So yeah, I decided I'm gonna start with the A350. Not only is it my favorite plane, but it'd be nice to have it in Roblox. And it went off with a decent bang. And then we moved to with that. I decided not only just to make it like this. Oh yes, a nice mesh, but just try and bring some systems that I haven't seen people do, but should have been done. With the suspension, the first fully suspension, some nice sounds. And at the time, I don't think there was I didn't think there was a kit with flare, with like adjustable flare. I may be wrong, but at the time there wasn't a kit with adjustable flare, because when V1 came out, I wasn't aware of one. But if you know at that time, this is like around 2018, around September. If you knew if there was one, of course, let me know in the comments. But yeah, there wasn't one at the time I knew of, so we added that, and yeah, it did really good wonders. The airline that really showed off the A350, for example, was Fly Swiss, and also Skyfly were also flying. We had Azalia also flying about the plane. More and more people were coming out with planes, and so yeah, we look to a new 2020 where quite a few airlines now are just readying up themselves to start flying the A350 again, with Air Monaco looking at starting their A350s again. Azalia is just waiting on their interior for their new planes. We have I think Spectre, he was talking about the A350. Fly Swiss is looking at new interior for their A350 at the moment. Man, quite a bit are looking for new interior, so I can't wait to fly with those. And yeah, it's always nice to, as I say, for me, the more rewarding thing is, as I say, the money's not much. It's not the focus. It's really to just see, have you had an impact on the community, a decent impact on the community, however small it is, and has it inspired people to get out of their comfort zone and try something new. And if you've done that, then you're doing something right in the community. And if you've not, then you've got a lot of work to do, I guess. But yeah, the aim is, as I say, and I kind of done this without, as I say, my cast team, because as I say, when I do go on my breaks, I can't answer all your questions when I'm very busy with doing one system or something. So Cass are always there to take the help for you guys and answer those usually long tickets that I always see. So kudos to them, and kudos to Aris again, as I say, for running the show when I'm not around, if I'm busy with development. And yeah, I would definitely love, of course, as I say, to have more developers working on the Aeson stuff. Yeah, for sure, it would probably make things faster. But on the flip side, because all the systems I do, they just come out of, like, they literally, once I finish a day, I go to bed, and literally if I'm trying to think of something what I want to do like new, when I was thinking about this kit, it all came really from like a dream. Just be thinking, oh, what I do, this is what I do, and I can see the code in my head and see the method to do this. If I have a problem where I can't fix a solution, so I was saying about the previous issue where with the A350, where we couldn't land properly because it was Dutch rolling. The solution I found was pretty much in my head, which was to be like, you need some type of system that will keep the plane's rudder correct in any differential movement on the plane because of the wings, because the ailerons create their own adverse yaw because of how they move, and so you need to counter this. Looked online for what that is. Saw a yaw damper system is what's used on all planes, and I'm like, oh, okay. Coded that up quickly because it's just PID. It's very easy for me to know what to do there, and boom, fixed the thing. I see all my students now just having no problem landing, at least following the center line. We'll talk about landing in a different story. But yeah, much better than what it was before. The arrows are like, damn, this is a lot more stable now, because if you've ever flown the previous versions before these new updates, you'd probably be like, how does anyone ever fly this? Funny enough, this plane was the V2 planes for a brief while were actually being flown by a few airlines, Fly Checkways, Fly Aeson, and yeah, I'm surprised how they were flying. I think, to be honest, they were flying the V2 version before we actually had functioning surfaces, and that one was a lot more stable than when we first put the functioning surfaces in. Then because I didn't realize that the functioning surfaces actually are now going to create adverse yaw. For a while, people were finding landing just near impossible, and I was like, you guys don't know how to land. I tried to land myself, and I was like, oh no, okay, it's a lot harder now to keep the center line without using the rudder. So it's, as I say, now the current version is very easy to, once you just literally learn how to turn on the plane, how the different functions work, you can get that plane in the air, and you can get landings done once you just master flare mode, which is very easy. There's multiple tutorials, real world, that you can follow that will translate very easily onto the Aeson plane, because as I say, this is a very realistic plane in its adaptation of Airbus's fly-by-wire system. Yes, I'm gonna even say more realistic than Microsoft's 2020's A320neo, which I don't think even has fly-by-wire, and possibly some X-plane adaptations as well. But anyway, yeah, that's about it for this video. This video was just mainly supposed to be showing you the A380 suspension change, and that of course the 4 engines are all on now, so it's not long until you'll be seeing a video of the A380 actually moving under power. And now it's gone into probably like a question and talk about Aeson's history. So that's the video, guys. Thanks for checking out, and see you later.